Hari Om Yogis, welcome. I would like to give you some guidance about breathing exercises. So pranayama or breath control, it's also translated as that. So prana is the breath and the life force that enters the body and gives the body life. Without prana, without the breath, we wouldn't be able to live here inside our bodies. So the practice of pranayama, of breath control, of breathing exercises, is one of those fundamental parts or fundamental limbs of yoga. Without the control of the breath, it will be difficult to lead to get to that self-realization, which is the objective of yoga at the end of that path. So it's one of those steps of on the path of self-realization. So we have to practice pranayama to get there. Pranayama will give you the practice of controlling the breath, and therefore you can control your mind, because the breath is the link between your physical body and your mind. So you will use your breath to calm the mind so you can sit calmly for meditation. If you sit for meditation and your mind is agitated, it's much more difficult to get into that path, into your self-realization. If you sit and your mind is calm, then the path is free. So it's a very important way to calm the mind. And the other element that the practice of pranayama gives you is the practice of sitting still. So there are different breaths that you can you will use in your practice of postures, and you will use as you live your daily life, and you can start to become aware of your breath in that way. So you use your breath as you move. But as we sit in class or here together to practice our pranayama together, we will have to sit, we will have to be quiet, and we will have to remain still. So that is another fundamental practice for eventually sitting for meditation. So you start to give you that sense of stillness in body that is important for the practice of meditation. So if you're already listening to this and thinking, that's not for me because I cannot sit still and this is impossible, I'm going to say to you that this is exactly how I felt when I started. It was extremely difficult to be still. It was extremely difficult to understand why sitting still was important when there was so many things that I had to be doing. And on the other side, the actual practice of breathing made me feel more anxious and more agitated than I had arrived before, because the idea of being aware of breathing can make you more agitated and anxious. The fact that I was breathing before and I had to not to think about it was much better. So I question, why do I have to be aware of my breath if I can just breathe? So those are all valid worries and concerns and obstacles in your practice of pranayama. But I ask you, please, to have a little go. Even if you take the videos and you practice 1 minute of the breathing exercise, just 1 minute. And then if you feel that sense of agitation, why am I sitting here, then stop, and then next time you do 2 minutes, and then you might sometimes have to go back to 1 minute again, and then you do 2, and then you might get a good day and you can sit for 3. and you will see the magic happen, because from 3 becomes 4 and 5, and eventually you're sitting for 10 minutes, and then you start to want to sit for longer, and it will come from your will, not from your teacher or from somebody else. So if I had stopped at the beginning of my journey in yoga and said, I don't want to sit, this is not for me, I would not be collecting the fruits of the practice that yoga has already given me. So be aware that this will lead you to a place that is so wonderful that when you get there, you will look back and you will think, I'm so pleased that I stuck with it, and I tried, and I didn't give up. I kept going, and I'm here now. So that's what I would say to you. So as with everything in this practice of yoga, if you start and you feel physically unwell, stop straight away. If you feel challenged mentally and emotionally, try a little bit and then stop if you need to stop. But if you're, as you sit and you explore that sensation of difficulty, go deeply into, why am I feeling so against this practice? Why am I feeling so anxious? What is the problem with being still? Why cannot be still? And then you start to transform things. That's the power of transformation of yoga. You start to question things that you had felt they were already given, and then but they might need to change, so you can explore other beautiful parts of your existence that you hadn't thought that they were there before. So that's all I have to say. That have a go. Give yourself a chance to practice pranayama. Use your intuition, and use the comments section underneath to talk to me. So if you need any guidance, I'm here to help. Okay? So I hope you can have a go practicing breath control pranayama. Namaste.